Daily Words of God. God has been doing His work ever since He created mankind. At the start, it was a very simple work, but despite its simplicity, it contained expressions of God's essence and disposition. While God's work has now been elevated, and this work on every person who follows Him has become prodigious and concrete, with great expression of His Word, God's person throughout has been hidden from mankind. Although He has been incarnated twice, from the time of the biblical accounts to modern days, who has ever seen God's real person? Based on your understanding, has anyone ever seen God's real person? No. No one has seen God's real person, meaning no one has ever seen God's true self. This is something that everyone agrees on. That is to say, God's real person, or God's Spirit, is concealed from all of humanity, including Adam and Eve, whom He created, and including the righteous Job, whom He accepted. None of them saw God's real person. But why does God knowingly mask His real person? Some people say, God is afraid of scaring people. Others say, God hides His real person because man is too small and God is too great. Humans may not see Him, or else they will die. There are also those who say, God is busy managing His work every day, and He might not have time to appear so that others may see Him. No matter what you believe, I have a conclusion here. What is that conclusion? It is that God simply does not want people to see His real person. Staying hidden from humanity is something God does deliberately. In other words, it is God's intent for people to not see His real person. This should be clear to all by now. If God has never revealed His person to anyone, then do you think God's person exists?
He exists.
Of course He does. The existence of God's person is beyond all doubt. But as for how great God's person is, or what He looks like, are these questions mankind should investigate? No. The answer is negative. If God's person is not a topic we should be exploring, then what is?
God's disposition.
God's work.
Before we begin fellowshipping about the official topic, however, let us return to what we were discussing a moment ago. Why has God never revealed His person to mankind? Why does God intentionally hide His person from mankind? There is only one reason, and that is, although man, whom God created, has experienced thousands of years of His work, there is not a single person who knows God's work, God's disposition, and God's essence. Such people, in God's eyes, are in opposition to Him, and God would not show Himself to people who are hostile toward Him. This is the sole reason God has never revealed His person to mankind, and why He deliberately shields His person from humanity. Is the importance of knowing God's disposition now clear to you?